Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
And welcome into the Saturday Checkdown episode in which Declan and I are going to go over Sports Dad's 3 way too early storylines. I've done offense, I've done defense, for 5 on those. This one I'm keeping it to 3, special teams.
You're incredible.
You'll remember that Phil requested this episode like a week ago. And I'm like, oh yeah, we'll do it. And now he is off on this fine Saturday. So we're doing it without him. But I'm going to give you 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 storylines that are much too early, but yet we're doing them. And don't forget too, OTAs, as far as what's going to be open for us, not the public, unfortunately, but for the media to watch, there are select ones open, and the first one's going to be on Wednesday. So I'm going to have some Judd's camp notes next Thursday, I guess.
Oh, boy.
From that session. All right, let's get right to it.
Okay.
Credit to our friend Alec Lewis of The Athletic as well. So he had he has a piece posted, if you go check it out, with like 4 or 5 storylines just in general. Like one is on special teams, and it got me to, I was going through it and I'm like, this is some good stuff. So I'm going to steal from it. So storyline number 1, much too early or not?
Okay.
There needs to be a punting competition. There needs to be Ryan Wright. So if you recall last year, Sports Dad was all hot and heavy into Seth Vernon at the time.
I remember.
Beating out Ryan Wright. Big leg, big guy, big bust. He did not do it. Ryan Wright won the job. But this is something that Alec got from a site called True Media, okay? The Vikings, and hence Ryan Wright, has the NFL's lowest percentage of punts downed inside the 10-yard line since 2022. So that's pretty important there. You want punts, you don't want touchbacks. You want punts down inside the 20 and preferably the 10. The NFL's lowest, 32 teams. That's on him. We do have an undrafted punter who I did some research on, though, yesterday to find out a little bit more.
Okay.
By the name of Oscar Chapman. Now, he was the punter at Auburn, punted for 5 seasons. He is not a kid. He's 26. Last season at Auburn, he had 11 of his 41 punts land inside the 20. He is, and here's the backstory, he is from Australia.
Oh, okay.
So he is one of these Australian punters, that sort of drop that they do now. Like punting has become an art form of sorts. So I am hoping, because I am not convinced that Ryan Wright is the guy. I know that they keep him continually, but I am hoping, Declan, that the first storyline is that Oscar Chapman, 26 from Auburn, UDFA, pushes Ryan Wright and potentially wins the job in training camp.
Okay. Yeah. Ryan Wright's been here, what, 5 years now?
22 his first year?
Oh, yes, that's right. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So he's been here a while. I mean, especially we always kind of laugh at some of these things, and I know it's not on everyone's top of mind when you enter a training camp, and especially punters. And Vikings have more PTSD when it comes to kickers. But punting is still an incredibly important thing. Matt Daniels is, a potentially maybe a head coach someday. He's a great guy to talk to, and I love all of his interviews he does for press conferences. But yeah, a new punter, I think it's important. I think it's important to keep punters on their toes a little bit here. And if the Vikings can improve in that area, I'm all for them taking a chance on a UDFA, or taking a chance on someone here to make that part better in their game.
Or a veteran who gets cut. Mm-hmm. Just to put these 3 things, excuse me again, into complete context, the Vikings, according to what Alec had in his story, the Vikings special teams have ranked near the bottom of the league in DVOA, an all-encompassing efficiency metric that Phil brings out every once in a while, over the last 3 seasons. So, like, special teams are a concern here. And the punting is a concern because to allow Brian Flores' defense to cook as well as possible, right? It's all about field position. You flip the field as they say, football. You flip that field. So punting is the first thing. Let's go to something else now, where I think the game is changing, and that is the return game. Now, let's start with punt returns, where I do not think that the game is changing. But since 2022, the Vikings have averaged the fewest yards per punt return, and their average starting field position after kickoffs ranks 31st. The kickoff thing is there's a ton of touchbacks because the league does not want field goal or kickoffs returned. The punting thing, though, it's interesting. Now, Brandon Powell, who you don't like, I always was fine because he caught the ball and usually didn't fumble. But Brandon Powell is gone. He is, I believe, still out there. So I guess he could be brought back. It certainly appears he will not be. So let's start with that, Dex. Let's start with punt returns, okay?
Okay.
The Vikings have an interesting, again, UDFA possibility there. They signed a receiver who started his collegiate career, played the majority of his collegiate career at Oregon State, and then went to Texas, transferred there last season, by the name of Silas Bolden. Silas Bolden returned 40. He returned kickoffs at Oregon State. He returned 40 of his 41 kickoffs with them, so not at Texas. He just returned one at Texas. He became more of a punt return guy there and averaged 24.8 yards. Punt returns, he returned 28 punts for an average of 10.7 yards and 1 touchdown at Texas last year, and also had a punt return for a touchdown at Oregon State in 23.
Mm-hmm.
He ran at his pro day a 4.38 40.
Nice.
Now he's very small, 5'8", 160, but he's shifty. He's shifty. But I think when we're talking about punt returns, here's who I've got in the bag of potentials to replace Brandon Powell, Declan. Jalen Naylor, who returned some at Michigan State in college. He's only returned one as a pro, and you remember that as the one where he muffed the punt against the Packers last year because he decided to try to catch a ball he couldn't see in the sun. So I'm going to say that he is probably, I think he's going to get a chance. I'm going to say that he's probably not the guy. Silas Bolden, here's an interesting one on both punts and kickoffs, but I think he's going to be too busy on defense to do it. Isaiah Rodgers.
Oh, yeah.
Who is not, he hasn't returned a ton of punts. In 4 years, I've got him with 3 punt returns total, an average of 8.3 yards. Rondale Moore, who was out all last season, is not expected to be prepared for the start of training camp. In 3 years, I think this is almost exclusively, or is with the Arizona Cardinals, 22 punt returns for 8.3 yards. And then Ty Felton, who was a return guy, but not a ton on punts at Maryland. In other words, this thing is, as far as I can tell, wide open. Mm-hmm. Wide open. Most important thing, you don't fumble the ball.
Yes.
Like, that's the most important thing. Because if you do, you flip the field completely. It's a sudden change, and you're in trouble. But, Dex, you've been talking for some time about hoping to get a guy who could actually return punts, a.k.a. Marcus Sherrill's type.
Yep.
And so I don't know if that guy exists here, but I do wonder if Silas Bolden, despite his lack of size, is going to get a look, because he does appear to be probably the most prepared, with more still being hurt, to actually return punts.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun competition. Actually, there's some really intriguing options from the UDFA side. Obviously, Rodgers. I don't know if they even want to. Number one, he's gonna be busy, but also I don't even know if they want to subject him to doing that just from an injury risk standpoint, right? Like, what if he gets popped? What if?
Yep.
I don't even know if that's a good one there. My first thing is, Marcus Sherrills is our crown jewel, I guess, of Vikings punt returners. I wouldn't say he was Devin Hester, but he was dynamic at that role. It kept him in the league, for God's sakes.
It was really good at it, yeah.
My first thing is, honestly, I want you to be my bare minimum expectation for a punt returner. If we're just going down the rabbit hole of Vikings punt returners, Bobby Wade. Just, can you catch the ball? I'd want you to wave that hand.
Powell was sort of that, and you crapped on him. You were looking for more.
No, my problem with Powell was there would be too many bobbles and there would be too many close calls that I didn't like.
Well, yeah.
I didn't
But
like
he
that.
didn't fumble much, right? I don't seem to recall that he had a catastrophic. He did have a few juggles, but it felt like he recovered there.
Don't
but
like
yes,
that.
that's the most important thing.
Don't like playing with that fire. So number one, can you catch the damn ball and can you secure it and not have to worry about any situation like that? But yeah, if there's like Silas Bolden, who to your point, I mean he returned 31 punts in college, returned 41 kicks. I mean he did kickoffs too there at Oregon State and Texas too. So he's versatile. But I mean again, do you see a path where that dude is just on the roster strictly for that? Because I mean. He'd have to be also pretty good in special teams too, right? He wouldn't just be punt returner, kick returner. I mean, and 5'8", $160. Oof, that is small in the NFL.
The answer to your question is no, but in fairness, I said the same thing about Sherrills for like 3 consecutive years. This is the year because he couldn't really play cornerback, so I'm like, this is the year he's not going to make the team, and then the next year I was like, this is the year he's not going to make the team. So. I agree with you on the surface, but I will say that Marcus Sherrills carved himself to what you said. He carved himself a spot on the 53 for quite some time by not being a kick returner, punt returner. So my inclination is no. But here's the problem too. So unless there's a wild card here, Ty Felton, just to go back to him on punt returns, in his time, 4 years at Maryland, he returned 2 punts in that entire time for 13 yards in 2024. So he might be a kick return option. I don't know. So the next guy is probably Rondale Moore, but he has to make the team himself, and he's coming off a year missed. And Ty Felton, I will say, as a receiver, Ty Felton's skill set sounds a lot like a younger Rondale Moore. So it is a big question here. Like, I do believe that this job is wide open, and Naylor might be the most logical. But again, 1 punt return, he fumbled it, and it's just 1 punt return too. And then he did return some punts at Michigan State, but if I'm not mistaken, that was not great.
Yeah.
So like I got no clue here.
Yeah, I would if he was healthy, I think Rondale Moore would actually probably be the dude.
I agree if he was healthy. But, I mean, you just don't know. I mean, he might not make the team.
Yeah, exactly.
Ty Felton's going to make the team.
Yeah. By the way, a shout out to our friends at RULA here. So therapy is something that was super beneficial for me. If it's something that you have either done before and you want to get back into it, or you're just looking to join it for the first time, go check out RULA. You can use code word PURPLE, rula.com/purple. The average copay is only $15 per session at RULA. So they're giving you quality care plus a price you can afford. You deserve quality care from people who care. You can support the show. RULA.com/purple to take that first step towards better mental health. Shout out to RULA.
Yeah, talk about it, right? Talk it through.
That's right.
Guys are like, I don't need to talk to any.
Yeah.
I don't need to talk. It's like, no, actually you do. It helps people around you too. So I teased to this, but let's talk about the secondary part of this, which is the kick return. So this is not the third one yet. This is the kick returners. So why is this important? Here's the starting point. The league is going to move, or has moved, starting with the 2025 season, touchbacks to the 35-yard line, okay? Last season, if you recall, the ball was put on the 30. This will increase, or it certainly should increase returning teams to actually bring the ball out, because it's going to be kicked shorter, because you do not want, so the team that's kicking does not want to have the ball at the 35. They're going to kick shorter. They're going to want you to return that football. Just as a statistic, kickoffs were returned at a 33% rate, which was up in 2024. The expected jump because of the extra 5 yards will be between 60 and 70%. In other words, you kick off, you're going to kick it shorter, you want me to return it, and you're banking on the fact that I will not get to the 35. You might be right about that. So we're going to see more kickoff returns. Ty Chandler has been the guy. Now, first of all, it's so hard now because kickoff returns, Like the Vikings, I don't know what their percentage was, but it wasn't like you felt like, oh, Ty Chandler's back there and we're going to see something. It was just like, okay, I'm just going to fair catch. And I don't know that I don't think he makes the roster. So that leaves us with three options again. Rondale Moore, who has not returned kickoffs since 2021. I think it was his rookie year with the Cardinals. He returned 13 for an average of 22.4, and all of the things that we said about him on punt returns apply. Ty Felton, who in 2022 at Maryland returned 6 kickoffs for an average of 25 yards. And then, and this is the interesting thing, and again, I think he's going to start on defense, so it's probably a non-starter of a conversation. Isaiah Rodgers actually has 12 kickoff returns, or I'm sorry, 69 kickoff returns for an average of 27.1 yards and a touchdown. So he's pretty good at that.
Yeah.
But if he's starting on defense, odds are he's not going to return kicks.
Right.
So again, this one ends up wide open unless Ty Chandler comes back and you like him. But I don't know that he has a spot here.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is this maybe keeps Ty Chandler on the team for a little bit longer? Yeah, I don't. Definitely a point of emphasis. LOL. Point of emphasis in the early part of this to really figure out from Matt Daniels what they want to do here. And I know when they do this stuff at TCO, right there, aren't they usually on a separate field, like the special teams, the kickoffs, or was that at Winter Park or Mankato back in the day?
They put them, well, they usually come out before like the practice starts and do a special teams session. So then, you know, like on punt returns to start training camp, it'll be 4 to 6 guys all like auditioning or trying it. So, but I'm just curious, like who could stick around? Who's going to make the 53? Unless you think that like Ty Felton has this, like he might be the guy, but his history does not suggest that he was he was not a primary returner in college at Maryland. And if Rondale Moore is not going to be on the field, which he's not on the opening day training camp, it's a big question mark.
Yeah. It might be Ty Chandler getting the benefit here. I know he doesn't really, and look, unless they want to bring Cam Akers back for the 7th time, he might be still the third back behind obviously Mason and Jones. So
might be right.
I would probably, if there was a betting line, a money line, I think he's probably still the guy, but you could definitely be pushed. Like, he doesn't have the job on lock by any means.
No, and you're going to need a guy that can return. I mean, here's the incredible thing. For all of the times it felt like in the past 2 years that we've seen Ty Chandler deep, right? He has returned 12 kickoffs for 25.2 yards.
Yeah.
12. Like, you just don't return kicks. Mm-mm. And this is going to call for you, too. So I think the real question, too, is how good is he at actually returning kicks?
Yeah.
12 doesn't give me enough of a... I feel like the dude's been back there 30 some odd times. Like, he's been back there a lot. 12 returns. So the Isaiah Rodgers one on kickoffs is intriguing, but Flores loves him, and I'm going to guess that they are going to tell Matt Daniels that's a non-starter for you to take a starting cornerback and also have him as a return guy.
Okay. Third and final one.
Third and final one is this. Year 2 of Big Leg Bill. What does it look like? What does it look like? So, 6th round pick, Will Reichard, 2024. Okay? Missed 4 games because of a quad injury that he suffered against the Indianapolis Colts in Week 9 last season. And if you recall, he missed 2 kicks in that game. Now, he was clearly hurt, okay? But those were the first 2 kicks that he missed all season long. After that, I think he missed 6. But I am curious here. So he was 38 of 38 on extra points. He was 24 of 30 on field goal attempts with a long of 58. He missed 2 of those were from 40 to 49 yards, where he was 5 of 7. He missed 3 from 50 plus. He was 8 for 11 because they did trust him there. But year 2, Big Leg Bill, healthy now, spectacular before he got hurt. And I'm sorry, but if I hurt my quad, and he did, as I said, he did miss time, but
yeah,
and I'm a kicker, that's going to impact me probably for a few months, not just the time missed. So do you get that next step if he can stay healthy? Because he was in line until he got hurt to be perfect.
Yeah, he's having a hell of a year.
So that's the question mark.
Yeah, so I don't believe he went on the IR with the injury. It was rehabbed, right? There was no surgery. Correct? I don't remember there being surgery.
I think you're right. I wouldn't swear to it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if it's a quad and it's the one thing that he really definitely needs to be working for him. And he's the kicking prodigy that has only kicked his entire life. That's what I like about him. That's why I was super. Yes, kicking is probably even more of a mental thing than it is a physical trait. But this wasn't your converted kicker, random soccer player that started kicking for his college football team, or also being the pseudo point after dude in high school. He has been going to kicking camp since he was 12. So yeah, if he indeed didn't have surgery, and I don't think they would hush it, but I'd be curious to hear what were the steps taken, because you have a quad injury. He comes back, not as still sharp as he was to begin the year. It's definitely something to poke and ask about, I think, at OTAs and training camp.
I am a little bit more concerned on that note too about, is this any type of chronic thing? Like, was this a one time? Like, it just feels like sometimes, and certainly with how Big Leg Bill swings that leg,
sure,
a little bit concerned about if this is a problem that could reemerge. Hopefully not, because he's got he was marvelous at one point, but that's my third and final one to monitor, at least the health, the status of 6th round pick 2024, Will Reichard. And that's your 3 way too early storylines.
I love it. Look at that. We've given some offensive ones. Did we give the defensive ones?
Yeah, with Phil. And then Phil
right?
said we got to do special teams. And I'm like, I'll do special teams for sure. And I'm doing special teams, and he's gone.
So we've done all 3 of them now. Now we get to Judd with the field glasses out, sweat on the brow, sunscreen in hand. Hopefully you have your sunscreen
eyes
on.
Are white right below the
eyes.
Well,
are
actually,
white.
You know what? I don't do sunscreen much in OTAs because it's sort of nice. And I know the sun can hurt you, but like in training camp, I'm slathered with it. July.
Oh yeah,
real hot.
Yeah,
real hot, and I do burn easy.
Yeah, but the problem is then you can't get it in your eyes, because it gets in your it's just the worst. And you get.
But then I get the eyes thing where it's like white down. You can see that white down there. That's age as well.
Some lifeguards have the nose. Judd just has them underneath his.
I do, like baggy eyes.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm fine. You know what? The sacrifice is worth it to get people what they want, which is the information.
Right. Judd,
Screw my appearance.
Risking UV and melanoma and all these sorts of problems. Just
my
so
looks. My once handsome looks.
That's right.
Gone. Because I know that you need to know what's going on at camp.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, hit the like button, subscribe button here. We'll have a Vent Line episode tomorrow. On Monday, Memorial Day, Judd and Chip have an episode of Purple Access that will drop. And then Mackie, Judd, and myself will be back in tow on Tuesday for a Purple Daily episode. So hope you're enjoying a safe and fun, obviously, holiday weekend here over Memorial Day. But appreciate you guys. This is Purple Daily Vikings Entertainment, where we want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl before we die.